Hi, this is my third time filming this video and it's going to be my last time. So, this is my take on why ChatGPT should not replace any individual in a creative field. I'm actually very passionate about this subject, which is why I filmed it 3 times. However, because I'm not a tech whiz and definitely have no qualifications to be talking about the technology behind AI, I'm just gonna assume that you know at least as much as I know and just get on with it and get to my opinions on how I think this is gonna impact us and all that. Before I do that, I'm gonna do a very brief intro to ChatGPT itself. So ChatGPT is one of OpenAI's most well-known and accessible projects. Here is how they themselves describe it. We've trained a model called ChatGPT, which interacts in a conversational way. The dialogue format makes it possible for ChatGPT to answer follow-up questions, admit its mistakes, challenge incorrect premises, and reject inappropriate requests. Awesome. How does it work? Essentially, in a very simplified way, it scours the web and, brings together this huge, massive amount of information and data and then feeds it to you using grammar and verbal threads and cues that are familiar to you in a conversational manner to make it feel like you're talking to an all-knowing human, which is really cool. Essentially, in my eyes, ChatGPT is a glorified search engine. I feel like this is where I lose a lot of people, but just, bear with me for a minute. I do not mean that to be a bad thing. I love search engines. Search engines are great. They're so fun. We would be nowhere without search engines, honestly. Seriously speaking, search engines, I feel like, are one of the most powerful technologies accessible to us at our fingertips. And I'm so excited to see the shift from more traditional search engines to something like ChatGPT, which is much more user-friendly and much more efficient. If you look back on older search engines that we don't use anymore or even know of, they have a fraction of Google's abilities, options, algorithms, and intelligence. And so now we're making a shift. We're upgrading to something like ChatGPT. And I'm very excited to integrate that into my daily life. However, it's not magic. It won't determine our future, and it won't replace any creative job. Or it shouldn't be replacing any creative individual. And if it is, I blame the rich big guys who decide where the budget goes. There are certain people who are profiting from people becoming dumber and dumber every day and consuming stale, boring, repetitive, stupid content. And they don't have to pay a writer to do it anymore. They don't have to pay creative people to do it anymore. They can just use ChatGPT. But this is a gigantic danger to our society and our culture if we let this happen. And it's already happening. Look at the culture we consume today. Look at the media we consume today. Look at the shows we watch. Look at Netflix in the past few years. A gigantic amount of media has become so much less valuable because these people understand that we'll consume it no matter what. So why not profit more? Why make something valuable when they can just make something dumb and we'll still watch it or consume it somehow? Anyways, that's the danger I'm going to be speaking about today. However, I believe that ChatGPT will definitely simplify many tasks in many creative fields, exactly how Wikipedia and Google do it. In today's day and age, no copywriter or writer or whatever needs to rummage through tens of books to find an answer to something or come up with inspiration for something. They can just Google it, and now they can ChatGPT it, which is great because it seems to be more efficient in some cases. I'd like to clarify, don't get me wrong, I understand the excitement that comes with playing with AI or technology or new technology. And I just, what I'm saying is we shouldn't mistake that excitement for this magical thing that can replace human beings. When I was a kid, I remember there was this thing called Eliza. It's actually from like the 60s. It's an all MIT project. Maybe you've heard of it. It's this offline, I think, software that has these presets and algorithms and can essentially like talk to you, kind of. So it'll like ask you a question and then you'll give it an answer and it will use patterns to use the words you gave it, like, and feed you another question based on what you said. So it was obviously not as seamless as AI and technology is today, but at the time it felt like you were kind of talking to a robot and it was really cool. You're like, how does it know how to do that? If you use it now, you'll be like, oh my God, this is the most simple thing. But at the time, it was really fun. Or I remember when they gave Siri a voice, because the voice made it more human-like, and it just made the whole experience so much more riveting. I remember spending hours talking to Siri on my iPod because I was like, this is insane. I'm talking to a robot. And it's the same thing. I totally understand that whole feeling, that excitement of using new technology. I think a good example of this is Midjourney. Midjourney is so cool. I am a copywriter, so it's kind of easy for me to spot why ChatGPT can't replace me, but I'm a normie when it comes to like design and visual art, so I can't say the same about Midjourney. But when it was first like peaking and people like me were like playing around with it and we thought, oh my God, the world is now changed forever and we don't need designers anymore. I remember I was talking to a coworker who's a designer and I was like, why don't you just use Midjourney for the rest of your life? Like if you learn how to use it correctly, you're useless at this point. I can do your job because I'm a copywriter and I know the words. And she said something so interesting to me. She said, if you give the same search term that you're giving to Midjourney now to Google Images or Adobe Stock or Shutterstock or any like stock image website, it will essentially give you very similar results. But because of the process of us giving it to Midjourney and it kind of merging all those, like integrating all those images together and giving us a very like seamless, clean cut final product, we look at it and we're like, this is the one I want. Whereas it's not that unique or new. You can probably get the same result on the web, but because of the way we use it, it makes us feel like, oh my God, we just did this magical thing and this is the end of all of it. But it's not. It's at most a very incredibly powerful tool that we need to learn how to use to make our process more efficient and speed it up, essentially. I feel like for many years, people have mistaken technique for art. In today's world, the difference between the two is very obvious and they're completely separate, but I feel like people still don't really get it. This is such a gigantic, like, important conversation that I am not qualified to talk about. So I urge you to like educate yourself on it. However, all I need to say is that I think people think the danger of not knowing the difference between technique and art is paying $200 extra for a stupid, meaningless, abstract painting that goes well with your couch. Whereas I feel like the danger is what we witnessed happen in the NFT bubble 2 years ago. The fact of the matter is, if you don't understand the difference or the balance needed between technique and art, you can fully remove it and then have what we had in the NFT space, where it was just a bunch of people making invaluable things and selling it for thousands of dollars. When NFTs first came out, I thought it was a genius idea because in my eyes, I saw a lot of digital artists that couldn't integrate seamlessly with the traditional art market at the time, and this was the perfect platform for them. They could separate their work because digital artists are a big deal in the art scene today, and they just needed their own platform because it just wasn't working out. They didn't have enough light on them. But because the NFT space was slightly too accessible or maybe not moderated enough, it soon turned into this sinkhole of money, of contemporary money laundering, if you will, and it just went really off the rails. I'm very sad to see what happened to the NFT space. I feel like that could have been a gigantic turning point for digital art, but it just turned into a bunch of rich people getting richer and a bunch of poor people getting much poorer, which is awful. We are always the ones who are going to suffer from our own miseducation, if you will. Anyways, so what I'm trying to say is all of these are tools that if we learn how to use, we can use them to benefit us greatly. I believe that ChatGPT can speed up many tasks. It can be inspirational and it can simplify many parts of the creative process. However, it can't replace it. They probably don't do this anymore, but when I was a kid, they would like teach us how to Google things. Like they would in school, they would in computer class in like elementary school or middle school, they would teach us how Google essentially analyzes the search terms we give it so that we knew what to Google in order to get the most efficient result. Because now it's so advanced and like so just smooth running that I feel like you can Google anything and get the result you want. But at the time, it wasn't so advanced, so it was really helpful for us to know what to Google to get what we want. Even today, I feel like some people are just better at Googling than other people. Like they just can get to what they want much quicker. And I believe it's a skill. Same with AI today. We need to learn how to use it. I mean, the way I use Midjourney as a joke is completely different from the way I've seen people who know how to use it. Like the codes they have, like the way they do it, they get such a more useful, efficient, detailed image from it than I ever would. So I believe that we definitely need to sharpen our skills, whichever AI is most useful to us in our field. We need to learn how to use it properly and then use it to benefit us. But we need to understand that it's a tool and nothing more. One last argument on the matter of creatives being irreplaceable would be the joy of creating and the joy of consuming something created by someone with a unique experience. I'm not going to get into it. I fully stand by that, but I'm not going to get into it because I feel like it's a slightly more abstract argument and one that doesn't really need explanation. I feel like we all know what we're talking about when we're talking about the joy of creation and the joy of consuming something someone's created. And I really don't feel like I need to explain it further. However, Drew Gooden did a very, very well-worded video essay or video on the writer's strike, which is really cool, which is what is inspired this entire video. And he talks about that very well, and I think you should watch that instead. Anyways, to sum all of this up, I've given all of this a long thought, and I definitely don't want to be on the wrong side of history here. Like I said, I think I'm generally always on the side of technology personally, and I'm very excited to see the shift happening in front of my eyes right now, and I can't wait to integrate it into my everyday life. However, it does scare me that certain people will profit off of using these tools as replacements rather than tools. And when you use a tool in a wrong manner, it turns into a weapon, and that's very scary. What I'm saying is that ChatGPT has no unique thoughts, no creative breakthroughs, and no human sense. And I'm very terrified that our generation will fall for the smoke and mirrors, or even probably the older generation might fall for the smoke and mirrors. And instead of learning to use these tools the best we can to benefit us, we'll start replacing creative individuals with these tools. And that's just awful. If we learn how to properly use these tools, we could potentially elevate culture like no other. Like this could be a breakthrough in history because we just have so much, right? Like we can just speed up so many things and just get on with it and create so many cool things in the next few years. But if we, instead of using it as a tool, we use it to replace people, we're going to get awful, bland, repetitive, stale media that will only make us dumber. And worse than that, it's not like it's just gonna make us. It's not just that, oh, you're gonna get stupid TikToks from now on. No. It's literally going to be adjusted to benefit capitalism and promote consumerism. We've been feeding these people, these scary top 5 rich ass people, data, which is the most private and powerful thing in today's day and age, for a decade now, and they're going to use that against us if we don't do anything about it. And that's terrifying. Like we're going to be puppets very, very soon. So the fear of the danger of all of this is not that, oh my god, all the shows are going to be really bad now. Like, oh no, like I see so many like comments on Twitter about the writer's strike and all that, and it's just so stupid. Like it's just such a big deal. This huge tool can become the world's worst weapon and can be used against us if we don't, learn how to use it first. So I guess I strongly urge you and me to educate yourself on what's happening around you, on the writer's strike, on technology, on art, on all of it, and be aware of the media that you consume, because we need to fight against the power our data has given to the richest people on this planet today. Yeah. Don't let them use a tool as a weapon. That's very scary. I wonder what I'm gonna think about this video in like 10 years. I'm gonna find it very embarrassing, but what else am I gonna think about this video? Anyways, that took a very dark turn at the end. Bye.